Hey everyone, this is DJ.
And this is Ish.
And this is Season 5 of Pero Let Me Tell You. You know you had a good vacation?
When you come off hecho like leña.
That and none of your clothes fit.
Oh, that's
good times were had.
That's true. Good times were had.
So, welcome everybody to episode 213.
Yes.
213.
Yes.
We had a interesting week.
Yes, we did.
On our ship.
We were on, international waters.
That's always fun.
It is always fun.
How many miles do you have to be out to be international waters?
Okay, well, hold on, because 30?
12.
No, 12? That's it?
That's a lot.
12 miles? But isn't that what people run in, like a half marathon or something?
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's doable.
Did I tell you, though, you remember when I was trying to train for a marathon, right?
Yes. ¿A ti se te jodió la...
I got runner's knee.
I was going to say...
And I started working with the athlete's... Is it the athlete's foot? It's a very... I forget now the name of the store, and I wanted to give them a shout out. That it's by Sunset Place in South Miami. That they're like a local
runners
runner store, and obviously you go there and they take your gait and everything to get you so you can get the perfect running shoe.
Right.
And they do trainings for marathon, and about 10 years ago or something, I'm like, of course I want to run a marathon, because why wouldn't I? And I started training for it, and I actually got pretty, every week we would train for it. We'd do 1 mile and then 2 miles, and then we did a thing that I remember we would run for 3 minutes and walk for a minute, intervals like that to build up to the 26 miles. And at one day, a friend of ours was talking to me, and she's like, and during that time I lived downtown, she's like, you do know that a marathon is like running from here to Fort Lauderdale? And I'm like, when she put it that way, I was like,
that's context.
I'm like, oh my God.
Context, my friend.
It's actually more, right? From downtown to Fort Lauderdale, yeah. It's like, I was like, I'm not sure I want to do that.
See, I'm at a point now where I stop every once in a while and I think, maybe I'll do a marathon or half marathon. I don't want to do a marathon, but just to say I did it. Okay, I'm in decent shape now. I could feasibly,
Yeah, but that's different.
No. But I'm saying I'm in decent shape, so I can translate that if I train for it. You know what I mean? I'm not starting from scratch.
No, the endurance to run a marathon, even if you're in good shape,
is different.
It's different because the times that I've been in great shape, the endurance. I mean, it's a very specific amount of endurance. One of the things that I loved from living downtown,
I can only do 2 miles
from when I lived, because I lived directly across the arena from the arena, formerly the AAA, and the start line to the Miami Marathon is literally in front of the building.
Yeah.
So it was great because from the balcony I could see, it was right there. Even though I was so high up, the marathon, people would, it would start, I don't know, at 6 a.m. and people
6 is late.
It would start at nighttime
because Jose's friend does the marathon every year, and he's out there at 4 a.m.
Oh, no. People will start getting there at 4 a.m.
Yeah.
And tú veías que a las 5 de la mañana habían como 100,000 gente
in
downtown Miami. And I'm like, oh my God, why are people sleeping? And I'm like, but then again, why am I up watching you people run?
Yeah, at least they're there for a reason.
Yeah, I'm just there for fun.
You're spectator.
So, enough.
You're spectating.
So yeah, the Caribbean.
The Caribbean.
Yeah. En el mar, la vida es más sabrosa. Do you remember the jingle for NCL in...
no. I don't remember any
the
NCL
jingle in the early 90s in Spanish was En el mar, la vida es más sabrosa. Con un crucero de NCL, disfrútala.
That doesn't rhyme.
En un crucero de NCL, disfrútala la vida.
Yeah, I know, but just... No,
Am I the only one that remembers these jingles?
Well, I remember English jingles.
Stanley Steamer.
We're tough on dirt, gentle on carpet.
Yeah. So we had a great vacation.
Yes.
It was well deserved.
Yes.
A lot was eaten.
And A lot was eaten, a lot was drank.
You know what I wonder? How many calories you eat when you're like on a cruise?
I don't want to know. I don't want to know. There's no need. There's no reason.
Because on a cruise to come and poco
Like I said, there's no reason. I don't need to know.
It's like I really need to have this Asian stir fry, even though
2 in the morning.
No, or even if I ate something 45 minutes ago.
I don't need to know. I don't want to know.
I need to have.
I prefer to just never have that
this
information.
lemon meringue pie.
Ay, qué rico.
Obviously, we like cruises.
We do, because we're fatties.
And we live in cruise capital of the U.S.
This is also
I'm sorry,
true.
cruise capital of the world.
This is also true.
Right. You know there are a lot of people...
And you, my friend, are the king of ocean liners.
I was going to say I'm the king of cruising.
Well, that comes
out
way wrong. That's no, not how it came out. No, not that way.
Not the king of pain, the king of cruise.
No, neither of those. No.
Well,
I was going to say king of cruise lines.
Right. I am a ocean liner aficionado, which actually a lot of people. It's actually a very popular thing.
Oh, really?
People that are into the history of ocean liners, there's conventions.
Conventions,
yes, because the thing is that these ocean liners, like the Normandy, the Mauritania, the Aquitania, like these are like legendary ocean liners, the Olympic. A lot of these ships, when they were scrapped, before they were scrapped, they were mothballed. So they would sell like the furniture and the
they would sell
the
sell it
plates,
off.
everything. They would sell everything in the thing. So that's become collectible throughout the years.
Oh, wow, I didn't know that.
Right. If you go to YouTube and you look up ocean liners, there's 1,000 documentaries on ocean liners. And there's only one ocean liner left in the world today.
Which is?
The Queen Mary 2. Oh. Quick question to you and our listeners.
Oh.
What's the difference between an ocean liner and a cruise ship? And there is a difference. They're not the same thing.
Does it have to do with the size?
Yes and no.
Okay.
Yes and no. Because, for example, the Queen Mary 2, which is the only active ocean liner at the time, when she was built in 2002, this is the learn section.
This is definitely the learn section.
Sometimes we have fun and sometimes we learn. So, listeners,
Hey,
while you
can
drive,
be fun.
While you drive, you're going to learn about ocean liners. And
whether you like it or not.
Titanic was not the only ocean liner.
No.
Does it have to do with size? Yes and no. So the Queen Mary 2 was the biggest ship in the world when she was built in 2002. Okay. And generally, ocean liners are very big. But today, the biggest ship in the world is the Oasis class of Royal Caribbean.
They're gargantuan.
Yeah, which I think of even within the Oasis class, the biggest one is the Wonder of the Seas. Yes, I know all of this.
He's not looking this up, guys.
Right. And even the Wonder of the Seas is not an ocean liner; it's a cruise ship. So what's the difference? And it's much bigger than the Queen Mary 2.
I'm trying to think of all the things that it could be. And it probably has to do something stupid.
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
I'm like it's probably something just
They look the same, but they're not. Okay, so
I have genuinely no clue.
Remember that ocean liners, right, were created for transportation.
Right.
The dawn of the ocean liners were transatlantic crossings prior to the commercialization of airplanes, right? Where you
that's why everybody talk like this.
Right.
Transatlantic.
So from the late 1800s to up to the 1950s, the way you got to the other side of the world was on an ocean liner. Okay. So the main purpose of an ocean liner is transportation. As such, the way that they are built is completely different. The hull is taller.
Okay.
Everything is taller. Like the superstructure is taller. The bow is much angular because the thing is that it's crossing the North Atlantic. So it has to be able to take severe weather much more differently than a cruise ship. Cruise ships generally cruise the Caribbean, the Mediterranean.
Well, they also they avoid the weather too.
They avoid the weather.
Yes.
Some cruise ships do transatlantic crossings,
yes,
or world cruises or repositioning cruises,
right,
but that's like a one-off thing.
See, once a year.
Like once or twice a year.
Yeah,
They're not
yeah. It's not what they do.
It's not what they do.
Right.
And the way they're laid out internally is completely different. Ocean cruises generally have a promenade deck where all the entertainment is there, and then the cabins are usually under it, and all the entertainment is on top of it. In ocean liners, it's different. Generally, the dining rooms, the whatever bars and everything are in the bottom of the ship.
Really?
Because the bottom of the ship moves less than the top. And remember, the purpose is transportation.
That makes sense, actually.
Yeah, so they're built completely differently. Even the materials used are different. I could tell them apart because
you're you.
Because, like, for example, even the Oasis class in Royal Caribbean, the front of the ship, the bow, the angular part, is very small. Whereas, for example, in an ocean liner, this really is a learned section. Like the Queen Mary, the front, the bow of the ship is enormous because it has to spear through that North Atlantic. So they're built very differently and laid out very, very differently.
That's
on my bucket list, by the way.
To go
on Cunard on the Queen Mary.
The Queen Mary?
Yeah, and I specifically want to do high tea on it. It's like
if you're going to do it.
Well, because it's high tea on the Queen Mary or on a Cunard vessel,
right.
Since Cunard... So Cunard, for those who don't know, Cunard is...
It's owned by Carnival Corp.
I wasn't going to go that route.
I'm telling you it is. Carnival
I know
Corp.
it is, but...
But I'm telling our listeners.
Right, but Cunard is the oldest cruise ship line in the world. And it's so important that to say it's owned by Carnival is...
Hey, listen.
It's not a shot at Carnival.
Carnival paid my bills for 5 years.
It's not a shot at Carnival, but Carnival is a cruise line, and it's a fun ships.
And Cunard is an ocean liner.
Well, Cunard has this rich history of just ocean exploration. Like Samuel Cunard is from the 1850s, and like all these great ships were of the Cunard line. I'm really geeking out here.
Things I did not learn while I worked there.
But no, like that's since Cunard is a British brand.
Right.
Doing high tea and all that is like an experience there.
It's like what you do.
It is what you do. You have high tea every day at 4.
Every day?
Every day at 4. Well, it's transatlantic.
Transatlantic.
Every day at 4 in the Queen's room.
Oh.
On the Queen Mary too. That's in my bucket list to go on the Queen Mary on a transatlantic voyage.
And do the high tea.
Yeah. It's not that expensive.
It's doable.
It is doable. If you got a regular cabin, it's like $3,000 per person.
No, and knowing you don't need the fun the big whatever cabin, because you're going to spend all your time on there exploring and looking at everything.
And taking pictures.
Right.
I'm photographing that ship, every inch of that ship.
So actually, they could just rent you like a chair on the Lido deck.
I have a 1 terabyte memory card in the camera. I mean...
Because otherwise, you would never be able to.
Wow, okay, listeners, we're moving on from ocean liners.
So I wanted to bring something up that in the last couple of weeks, we brought up initially when Elon Musk was going to buy Twitter.
Oh yeah, which now he didn't.
And now he has pulled out of Twitter. And now Twitter says that they want to sue him for breach of contract. And we've also found out that he's like having babies left and right because he's worried about underpopulation or whatever. Like, ¿qué le pasa a Elon Musk? Do you think he ever even really intended to buy Twitter?
Elon Musk is a bit of a troll.
Do you think he ever intended to buy Twitter for real?
You know what? I don't know. I actually know he's not a little bit of a troll. He's a very big
very big troll.
I think that's very on brand. I mean, the thing with Elon Musk is that Elon Musk now has become a household name, but Elon Musk has been pulling antics and shit like this for a very long time.
Really?
Oh yeah, for a very long time. It's just that the more high profile he becomes,
right?
The more it's like, and the more of a platform he has, right? But he's been pulling shit like this for a long time. Regarding the Twitter
because I was like,
deal,
¿qué es lo que quiere?
Regarding the Twitter deal, I don't know, because look, he was buying Twitter allegedly.
Right.
Because again, we don't know what his intentions were. We don't even know if this was a publicity stunt.
This is what I'm saying.
He was saying that he wanted to protect free speech on Twitter because he was upset that certain people have been banned on Twitter. Right. And it's just not that Trump was banned. A lot of people have actually been banned from Twitter. And he wanted to do it in the name of freedom of speech and public domain, blah 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 blah, all that. But at the same time, while he was intending to buy Twitter, he was making very politically charged statements.
Right.
That generally somebody who is buying Twitter and is saying on the one hand that he's doing it for freedom of speech and to bring back, all types of freedom for everyone on Twitter shouldn't be making those statements. I mean, you could say whatever you want, but you shouldn't be, because you're allegedly doing this
for
as
the greater
sort
good.
of a neutral kind of bar that there should be a platform for everybody to come and say whatever, but then you're making all these statements too. So I don't know.
I don't know. The thing with him and Twitter specifically is that he seemed like he got hung up on their numbers in terms of how many fake profiles they have, spam profiles.
Yeah.
And that he said, I think it was like they were saying it's 5%. And he's like, no, that's wrong, and this and that, and give me the reports. And my question is, I don't think anybody who's going to go and buy any social media platform goes into it with the expectation that every single account is a genuine person.
Well, but again,
I think that's But
even aside from that,
come on.
Dealing 101, especially the purchase of such a huge platform like Twitter, these are conversations that you have in boardrooms. These are not conversations that you have on
in
Twitter,
the public eye. Right.
And he was doing that. So that's why I question his motives. I question if he really meant this. I question if this was a publicity stunt. Right. Because if you really want to buy Twitter, then you make a proposal to buy Twitter, which I believe he did. You entered to a purchase agreement, which I also believe he did, and you go into a boardroom
and you make
with
the deal.
Your team of people, and you
negotiate
crank it out.
Yeah.
You negotiate and crank it out. You don't publicly start disclosing all this bullshit. Right? You don't disclose the dealings that you're having publicly when you're doing anything.
Right.
So, I don't know. He's full of shit sometimes.
Sometimes. But I will say, because of him, I started looking up underpopulation. I didn't realize that was a real concern right now.
Yeah, especially in the United States.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
At all.
But underpopulation in what? In certain countries, or just in the earth in general?
In general, there has been a trend recently. Again, I didn't know this, that people are having less children or choosing not to have children. There's a lot less just people in the world than there should be if you do the math.
But I don't know too much in terms of the perils of underpopulation. Is the term being used, underpopulation?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And he has
the reason I say that is because the world population in the last 100 years has more than doubled.
Right. So, but what they're saying is that it's just come to a slow.
Right.
It's slowing down, but people are saying it as if because that's a bad thing, because then that means that there's going to be less people to, do the jobs and this and that and da. And I'm like, guys, as it is, there aren't enough people to,
Well, I mean,
as it is, there's too many people and taking up resources.
The problem with overpopulation, I mean, we don't have to get into a conversation of overpopulation, because we're not experts on that. But the problem with overpopulation at the end of the day it is an issue of food resources.
Well, food and other resources.
Well, but food is the biggest one, because you need more food, more land but when you say more food, you have to think about
what it takes to get right.
Because more food means you need more farmland, you need more animals, livestock, you need more processing plants,
crops,
you need more crops, you need more this by a lot.
And there's only so much space on the earth.
Right. And then there's the pollution of that,
right?
Even not talking about anything else, about
right.
Because when they look at issues with overpopulation, that is the problem: is how are you feeding all these people?
Yeah, no, I'm with you, but it's just weird to me that it's become this thing of there are actually people who are concerned about the underpopulation, and I don't know, maybe I'm ignorant, but I actually think that's a good thing.
Well, I think it depends on the rate that it's going.
Okay, but down. it's not like collectively everybody just stopped having kids.
I know here in the United States, they're saying that younger millennials and Gen Z are choosing not to have children.
Right.
Why is that?
Well, there's a lot of economic factors for it.
Right.
Number one.
No. I'm asking it as
okay.
In terms of hypothetical, rhetorical. I mean, why is that? Is it economic factors? Is it you just don't want to have kids?
Right.
Is it social issues?
Right.
It could be a million different things. Why is this happening? Because generally, that is something most people at some point aspired to, you know, and obviously there's a lot of social construct to that, because you're sort of raised to believe that you need to have children, right? I'm talking from a social aspect, not from a biological one, and that your life is not complete without children, right? That's sort of what you are led to. You're groomed.
Yes. I was going to use the word indoctrinated, but yours works too.
Right? And now this younger generation has sort of rejected that. So, you know, it's interesting to see, like, ask why. Like, why is this happening?
Right.
This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. We know things can feel overwhelming, from jobs to family to relationships, even finances. And despite the stigma from Hispanic families about airing our dirty laundry, we can all use someone to talk to during those moments of stress. Well, we're here to remind you that there's no shame in admitting that you need to speak with someone to work towards improving mental well-being. That's where BetterHelp comes in to, well, help. A customized online therapy provider, they offer therapy options on your time, whether it's via phone, video, text, or even live chat sessions with a therapist. BetterHelp's customized approach matches you with a therapist in under 48 hours, based on what you're experiencing, to help you better understand yourself. And as a special offer for Pero Let Me Tell You listeners, you can get 10% off your first month of professional therapy at betterhelp.com/pero. It's already more affordable than in-person therapy, and now you can save on your first month. Everyone deserves to be happy, and BetterHelp has helped millions take their first step on that path. That's betterhelp.com/pero. Thanks again to BetterHelp for sponsoring this podcast episode.
It's very, very, very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I just think it comes down to the fact that it's an economic play.
Obviously, there should be a master class on
There probably is.
on population. Have you ever looked at any of those master class?
No.
So, okay, so let's talk about master
Master
class.
class.
So I look at
Not a paid sponsorship, kids.
all of their trailers, and I actually was going to sign up for it this year because Mariah Carey did a master class, and I actually haven't. But
are they expensive?
Yeah, it's pretty expensive. It's like $100 like for the subscription. Yeah, it's super.
So once you subscribe, though, you can watch all of them. Okay.
So
I thought it was per class.
So some of them, I look at them and I'm kind of like, really? Do you know who was one of the ones I want to watch the most?
You told me Anna Wintour. No?
Anna Wintour, and it's funny because I'm not.
You're not like a fashionista,
right? I'm not. I mean, I appreciate Vogue for its history and for what it is, but I don't.
Yeah, you're not you're not a devotee.
Last time I even picked up a Vogue magazine,
right?
But Anna Wintour is one of those people, you know, the editor-in-chief of Vogue, that I find fascinating. And
in what context?
Because I find fascinating that she is so feared, but people marvel at her at the same time, and she's mysterious, but yet she's accessible in a way, because she does interviews. So it's not like, well, you're talking about somebody who's like a recluse.
She gives more interviews than Beyonce,
right? She gives, well, she does.
Yeah, I'm saying, yeah.
Beyonce gives zero,
right?
She gives interviews. She has like the Met Gala, you know, but at the same time, you know, it's like the person behind the glasses, like
there's an air.
Yes, there's so many. There's like a paradox of her. There's so many different like layers to her that I find fascinating.
What's her masterclass on?
Leadership.
Makes sense.
Yeah, that one and Neil deGrasse.
Oh well, I mean, Tyson.
You know that I watched that man, and I'm kind of like, I don't know anything. Like,
yeah,
I only know my phone number.
Like he probably saw that NASA picture before any of us.
Oh,
in his head.
Oh yeah.
Like just in his mind, it existed.
Billion-year-old. Oh my god. Okay. Now that you said that,
check out that picture. It made me cry a little bit.
Okay, so last week or the week before, 2 weeks at this point, NASA released that picture from the James Webb Telescope, and you know, it took a picture of the galaxy. Well, not of the galaxy, of many galaxies
beyond the galaxy.
They think that was about 13 billion years ago.
Yeah.
And the day that picture was released, my parents came to my house. And I was talking to my dad about it.
Embracing.
And I love her. And I'm talking to my dad about him, and we're like, no, porque la foto es de 13 billones de años. Right. Me dice, espérate. ¿Cómo es que eso tiene 13 billones de años? And I'm like, sí, eso tiene 13 billones de años. Eso es como era el universo hace 13 billones de años. She's like, pero en ese tiempo no habían cámara. But she said it very like
unironically.
Yes,
this
like,
was this was
en ese tiempo no habían cámara, like very like affirmative.
Like I'm not stupid.
Like I'm not
right.
And I'm like, Mom, like cuando tú ves el cielo ahora mismo, tú sales por la noche y tú ves el cielo y tú ves todas las estrellas. Eso es lo que tú estás viendo. It's light years away.
It's the remnants
de algo que pasó hace años de luz, se dice en español. Eso no es algo como que está pasando ahora, es algo porque I mean, not that I'm an expert in light years by any means.
But only Kylie is. It's not like you're
watching. Years.
She saw that picture before all of us too. Her and Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Yes. And you know, I was explaining to her, mira, 2 años de luz es cuando pasa algo y la luz viaja, I forgot cuántas millas por segundo, por hora o por año, y es el tiempo que demora para que tú lo puedas ver aquí en la Tierra.
We're seeing the ghost of
like
that star.
Like a very rudimentary way, because I myself am nowhere near, like, not expert, like, comfortable, like, talking about light years, right? I just know the very, very basic, what everybody knows. But explaining that to her is so much fun. Pero que es un año de luz. Pero ¿cómo eso hace 13 billones de años? Hay cámara.
No hay cámara. That was great. That's great.
No, yo esas cosas no las entiendo. No las entiendo.
But I mean, but she understands that, like...
No, but
you know,
to her credit, it is a lot, because, like, and I think this, and I'm sure you think this, and I'm sure everybody out there thinks this. Or you know, there's moments how you think this. When people start, you know, when they say in science and astronomy that the universe is never ending, like that, like I get anxiety.
I can't fathom it.
Yeah, like I'm like, what do you mean it's never ending? Like, it has to end. There's a wall somewhere.
Yeah, you have to get to the end.
Like, there's a wall.
You have reached the end of the universe.
Yes, you are here.
Right. Yeah, no, I can't even fathom those things.
What's beyond that wall?
What's beyond that wall? I don't care. No, but I need a wall.
That's like when they tell me that 2 parallel lines are infinite. Like, they will be parallel for, like, because 2 parallel lines will never cross.
That's right.
And I'm like, what do you mean they will never cross? Like, obviously I understand the concept, but I draw 2 parallel lines, and I'm like, oh, you're never gonna cross. You're gonna go as far as the universe, which doesn't end.
Which doesn't end, exactly. So,
right. I don't know. It goes into
the black hole.
Yeah.
Which probably just leads to another part of the universe.
Which is to another vortex.
Yeah.
Which you're in again. It's going to end up in a buffet somewhere.
Ay, qué rico. Yeah. I want to get into a black hole now then. Can you imagine? Like, pew!
I'll never forget that when I was in college, my last semester, I took fun stuff because I purposely didn't take any electives. Que masoquista soy, ¿verdad? I purposely did not take any electives ever. So my last year, o sea, my last 2 semesters can be all electives and fun stuff. Okay. That's when I took theater.
Okay,
that's when I did all that. Remember? Yeah. I took theater. So listeners, I took theater at FIU my last 2 years. I took theater 1 and 2. And I was actually very, very good. I got to pat myself on the back. I did very well. And my parents were very concerned.
Of course.
They were. I remember that I tried out for the part in King Lear. Because if I was doing a production of King Lear. And I ultimately didn't go ahead with it because I was going on vacation. I remember we were going to Europe. And I had to miss like a week of school or something like that.
You just couldn't do it.
And I couldn't do it. It just
logistically.
And I remember when I told my parents that I was trying out for that, it's like if I told them that I had committed a crime. Eso fuera lo último que tú ahora, con la edad que tienes, Mary, I was 21.
Right.
Con la edad que tú tienes y que ya estás en graduar, tú te vayas a meter a actuar, a teatro. And I'm like, it's just an elective, people. Like...
I'm just doing this for 6 months.
Right. So my last year at FIU, the reason I'm saying this is I took only electives. I took theater. The only other elective I had taken during college, which actually was it was the only elective I took during college, was photography.
Remember, that's right.
Really
yes,
photography.
yes.
But in my last 2 years, I took up mostly like history classes and philosophy classes. Which I find
As one
fun.
does.
As one does. Lots of fun reading about Stalin's purges. Anyway,
those wacky purges.
so the reason I mention all that is because I remember when I took philosophy and we had to study the forms of Plato, right? I mean, this was like really deep philosophical conversation. I remember classmates being like, I don't understand shit. What the hell is a form? Like the forms of Plato, right? And I just find interesting because I don't think you're like this, but there's the way that I approach that type of stuff is that I know that I don't know it.
Right. So I'm here to learn.
I'm here to learn it, but I'm here to learn it, but I know that I'm not going to get it all. Right?
I'm taking one class.
Right, because there's certain classes that you would take in college that you're like, okay, I'm going to master this shit.
Right.
Contract law, I got you, babe. Property law, I'm going to learn the rule against perpetuities if it kills me. Or like when you would take up math.
It's very
like I remember
tactical.
when I was like taking statistics, I'm like, I fucking hate this, but I'm going to learn this.
Right.
I'm going to learn regression in statistics. But there's certain classes like a philosophy class or something like that. It's like, I understand this goes way above me.
It takes years of...
And I just want to get like a general understanding. Right. And it's okay if I don't get 80% of it. If I walk away here understanding 20%, I'm good.
It's a win.
I know more than when I came in, right? And enough to pass the test.
That's most important.
But I remember there would be people that just like they couldn't even begin to think about it. And I've always thought that that's interesting because it's like there's a certain amount, I guess the word is freedom, of when you give up that resistance, that it's like, okay, I don't understand this. This is probably more intellectually that I can handle, but I'm going to sit back, let it go, and just see what I absorb.
Yeah. I think it takes a certain person to be able to do that. I think there are, and it's funny because I think to a degree you and I can be type A for certain things, but a person who needs to walk in the door getting an A, no pun intended, in a class, you're not there to learn.
Yeah. I've only done that with one class in my life, and that was in law school when I took tax law. I'm like, I am getting a C. I don't care to have an A. It'll be my only C. I just need a C.
You just need to pass it.
I just need to pass it.
You need to pass it.
Because I hate tax. And I hate taxes, and I hate especially tax law. So it's like, I'm not going to learn this code. I'm just going to learn enough to pass it. I don't want an A. I don't want a B. I want a solid C. I am good being average.
If I get a C plus, I'll be happy.
No, and I got a C. It was the only one I had. And I was like, party. Done with it. I never have to take it again.
True.
Done.
Goal accomplished.
Done. But yeah, like Plato's Forms, Anna Wintour. So speaking of education,
I thought you were gonna say speaking of Anna Wintour.
So there's actually something that I wanted to bring up.
Okay.
This is very on brand for us. So
I expect nothing less.
There's an account that I follow, or I don't know if I follow or we follow, but let me tell you, of someone that posted a couple of weeks ago, and I had been wanting to bring it up.
And now that we're all relaxed from the cruise, it's the perfect time.
What, to bring it up?
Yeah, why not?
Well,
we're probably still in food coma.
Ay, look ahora. It's so funny, like when you're like on vacation, where did he go? When you're on vacation and you're having a good time and you're there and you're all free, and then when you're back at work, you're like, oh, I'm here again.
No, worse than that is the week before you go on vacation.
Why?
Because all you can think of is the vacation.
No, but I like the week before because you have that anticipation,
Ay, pero todo te cae encima. Like the week before, all the people who need something from you come out of the woodwork.
That's true. But anyway, so where I'm going with this is, so there's an Instagram account that we follow that the guy posted a few weeks ago a book called Who Was Fidel Castro? And it's sort of a children's book.
Oh, like like those, like who was Celia Cruz,
right,
who was Dolly Parton.
Right.
Okay.
So I looked a little bit into it.
Okay.
And actually, just to what you were saying, so it's called the Who Was series,
Right.
and it's a series of books to teach children about
historical figures,
right? So they have like who was Frida Kahlo,
I think Harriet Tubman,
who was I'm looking through some of them.
Like George Washington,
NASA, who was Ida B. Wells, who was Jane Austen, who was what are Castles and Knights.
So it's a very vast catalog,
right?
In terms of
on, and it's a fun way for
it's
kids
educational
to do that. And there is a Who Was Fidel Castro?
I did not know that existed.
Oh yes. So I have not read the book, so I'm only going to judge this book by its cover.
Oh, that's very dangerous.
So the front of the book, it's a picture of Fidel Castro.
Okay, well, but it doesn't try to cutify him.
And in the back, you're going to change that tune very quickly. In the back of the book, it says, "Who was Fidel Castro?"
Okay,
and we have some bullet points.
Okay,
first bullet point: a boy who loved sports, especially baseball. Second bullet point, a lawyer for the poor. Third bullet point, the leader of a revolution in Cuba. And fourth bullet point, all of the above. And then all of the above is marked. So yes, that is what this book says. A boy who loves sports, especially baseball. A lawyer for the poor. And the leader of a revolution in Cuba. How do you like them apples?
I have to.
And again, we have not read the book.
We have not read the book, right?
But based on the back cover, which usually gives you an idea.
Also, this is also being a children's book. I can't imagine that it ends with and he executed his opposition. I can't imagine that's necessarily in there.
Okay.
With that said, the middle one, lawyer for the poor. I am not familiar with that as being part of the story.
I'm not familiar with that. I can't speak on his legal
because
career.
the other two, he was a boy who loved baseball. When he was a boy who loved baseball,
I can't speak on his legal career.
But I know he studied law here.
Here's
in the
my
US.
question to you: would they have a book that said who was Adolf Hitler?
An artist.
An artist. An Austrian,
right,
a lover of humanities,
right,
as in art,
right, pioneer of eugenics,
right. I mean, are you fucking kidding me?
Right.
Would they have one that says who is Joseph Stalin?
A boy who loved pasta.
A boy, because Joseph Stalin loved dogs. A dog lover.
A dog lover, right? And
I mean, are you giving me a freaking? Are you,
like what? Yeah. No, I think I'm still taking it in. I think that's why I haven't been able to formulate a real response. That's one of those instances where I just think no.
How many times do we have to explain this? Like again,
I just think
it's where the frustration comes. Like how
here's
many times do you have to explain this?
Here's the thing.
Like how many times?
Here's the thing. I actually would be curious if they have done one of who was Hitler. Because I would like to see how, again, without having the book in front of us.
I can okay.
No. But I'm saying, but I want to see because again,
wait. I can almost assure you there isn't one on Hitler.
Okay, but here's where I'm coming from. Understanding that these are books aimed at children, right? So off the bat, there has to be a certain level of writing. But with that said, I think that there has to be a certain point where you have to look at the subject of the book and say, maybe we don't do this one.
Yeah.
Right? Like let's take all of our personal feelings about this out of the equation, right? There has to come a point where you say,
well, there was in the series of books, I'm looking it up, there was one that says what was the Holocaust.
Right. But look at the perspective. Right? They're focusing rightfully on the victims.
What was Pearl Harbor? What was the turning point of the Civil War? What was D-Day? What was the Hindenburg?
Oh,
that didn't end well.
Not for anyone involved.
What was Hurricane Katrina? Okay, this is taking a downslide. Like,
they're not afraid to handle the top.
And look at the graphic.
I'm sorry. I don't mean to laugh, but it's kind of horrible.
Okay, these books are messed up. No. Hold on. I'm like looking at this now.
You're deep diving.
These books are messed up. What was the Vietnam War? First of all, the picture they have.
What is the age group for these? Because I know it's for younger children. I just don't know. I'm thinking it's.
What was the San Francisco earthquake?
I'm thinking it's.
First of all,
is it grade school kids?
So, for example, the one. What was Hurricane Katrina? They have, a black man and his daughter on top of a roof waiting for a helicopter.
That's like a cage basket?
Yes, in a cage basket while they're flooded. Like, that's almost mocking, what those people went through. Like, this is messed up.
Again, what is the age group that they're targeting here? Because these aren't preschool age, because I feel like these are written a little up. But
no, this is certainly not
like grade, but definitely grade school.
This is
elementary, grade school.
Yes, grade school, middle school. So
no, I think that's too young for middle school.
Okay, let's say 10 years old.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether it's 10 years old or this is done for 18-year-olds. The point is, we can't speak to all these books, but we certainly can speak to the one with Fidel Castro.
Fair enough.
Right? We certainly can speak to that. And again, I am judging this book by its cover. So again, let me say it again. I am judging this book by its cover. I have not read the book.
It's interesting that they didn't go the route of what was the Cuban Revolution, but rather who was Fidel Castro.
But that's why I'm telling you, it's this mental orgasm that people have with freaking Fidel Castro and,
this iconography.
Right, that he is, and with Che Guevara, and they don't know shit. Because, as we always say, to a Cuban and a Cuban American, Fidel Castro is like Hitler.
Right. Right.
It is like Hitler.
Yeah.
The
Che Guevara shirt would be like.
We're not comparing one tragedy to another because there's nothing that I hate more than when people
compare worse than this.
tragedies.
Right.
Oh, my peril was worse than yours. No, they all fucking suck.
Right.
Right. In different ways.
But let's treat them with the same respect.
And some of them are much worse in terms of casualties than others.
Right.
But these are all terrible people. Right. And he was a baseball player. And he was. Have you ever seen the Motorcycle Diaries?
No, because I don't want to get upset.
When you watch the Motorcycle Diaries,
there are certain movies that I purposely avoid like that because I'm like, I can't sit through this romanticismo of this topic, but B, I'm also not going to give my money to that romanticismo.
The thing, and again, we're chatting about something we've chatted on many times on this show. So
well, but we need to keep ringing this bell.
Right. Well, clearly,
yeah.
We need to be ringing this bell because the thing with Che Guevara is that the murders that Che Guevara did are not undisputed.
No. He owned up to it.
It is like if you do a simple Wikipedia entry,
it's there,
right?
And nobody's denying it,
right? This is not like, well, but no, he didn't really do it. Or,
rumors.
Well, no, he was doing it because he was like, like people like. Somebody like Pinochet, who practically did genocide, but people are like, no, but he stopped communism, Right. It's like, okay, it's great that he stopped communism, but
what cost?
Did he really have to commit?
Right.
Like that argument, right?
Right.
No, like with Che, it's like people know that he had thousands of people executed. Like this is not up for debate,
right?
And yet here we are.
Yeah,
here we are, and it's so just. Frustrating, humorous, ironic that his shirt, which is so popular, is one of the biggest forms of consumerism and capitalism.
As everything he was against.
And it's like the most ironic thing in the world, and people don't get that because then we've talked about that Americans don't get irony.
Yeah.
But I mean, I've told you the story that when I was in Michigan in law school, I didn't study in the law library. I studied in the regular library. I didn't like to hang out with those law students. there was I was in the library, like, I don't know, 28 hours a day. So after a while, you became very familiar with your surroundings and the people around you.
It was the same people.
It was the same people. Yeah. Oh, hi, I see you having breakfast. I see you snacking. I see you having lunch.
I'm sure that you didn't even know their names, but it was like, that's, cream cheese on a bagel. That's only has coffee.
My study partner and I would make names for all
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
There was this girl we used to call Callista.
What?
Because you look like Callista.
I'm sure that...
Among other things. But anyway, and I remember that there was this guy that he was like in the table across from me for whatever. We had made eye contact throughout the day and whatever. And I think there was even a time that he went to have lunch. He's like, hey, dude, can you like take a look at my...
Right. Make sure nobody steals anything.
My laptop was there, whatever. I'm just sure, whatever. And he had a Che Guevara shirt. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, him and I had already broken bread. So I was like, hey... I noticed you have a Che Guevara shirt. I'm just curious. I didn't tell him I was Cuban. I was from Miami. I'm just curious, like, why do you wear his shirt? Like, what does he represent to you? And he's like, oh, man, he was, like, anti-establishment. And he, was, like, for the little guy and, like, against,
See,
like,
the party line.
The corporate money and, and all that stuff. He stuck it to people, anti-establishment. I go, oh, okay. I'm like, there's a lot more to him than that. And there's a lot of people. I didn't put myself in the equation. Mm-hmm. I was like, there's a lot of people that think he was actually a pretty awful person. You might want to look that up. And he was like, cool about it. He was like, okay. But I give that example as somebody who was in college.
Right.
So it's not like he was Unyame. You know what I mean? He was somewhat intelligent.
He got as far as college.
Right? And he was so misinformed or so uninformed.
Right.
Of who this person was.
Again, he took the party line. He memorized the pamphlet.
Right. And, to have a book about who was Fidel Castro and say that, he was a baseball player. As a boy, he loved sports, especially baseball. He was a lawyer for the poor. I would be interested to see what's inside that book. And again, it's the story we have to keep telling people.
We should look for it next time we're like at a Barnes & Noble or Books and Books.
It's a story we still have to keep to people because apparently when it comes down to our lived experience and the lived experience and trauma of our people and our relatives, people choose not to believe it.
Yeah.
But man, you could ride a 55 Chevy.
Wow, I mean,
in Havana.
Yes,
while having your mojito
before it's ruined.
Yes. Yeah. So it's like, whoever wrote that, shame on you. And I'm going to tell you why shame on you. Because if you're writing a children's book, mm-hmm. I would believe that it's apolitical.
I would hope
that it's apolitical.
Right? It's historical, right?
That it's historical, right? And there is no way that if you're going to be apolitical about Fidel Castro, even if you don't come into it with the bias that we have,
correct?
Right? That you can make, even if it's a short children's biography on Fidel Castro, without talking about the Cuban Revolution and what happened in the Cuban Revolution. You can't, well, actually, no, you can't wash that out. You can whitewash that. I mean,
but to what degree?
Right. So but that's why I say that then if you whitewash that, then you're coming from it with a political angle.
Right.
With an agenda.
Right.
Because if you're coming solely from a historical one,
this is what happened. Boom.
This is what happened.
Right.
Even if you say, well, but he was the wonderful healthcare of Cuba.
Right. Everybody can read.
And everybody can read. And the literacy rates.
Right. The literacy rate. That's
everybody can read. They can't go to a bookstore to buy books.
But they can read. They can read.
There isn't a Barnes & Noble in Cuba.
But they can read.
They can read El Granma.
Right. Which is La Propaganda. Right.
Which is the only newspaper in Cuba that is run and written by the state.
Right.
It's a state-run because there's no freedom of press. So that they can read. Right. So that's why I say that even if she were the author, because I looked up the author, even if she were to present the book in an apolitical way because it's from a child, if you don't talk about that, which is a fact, it's not something that is argued. It is a fact. Right. If you don't talk about
It's a lie by
what he
omission.
did to Cuba, then you are omitting a large part of the truth, and in essence, you are being political about it.
Yeah, you're taking sides by omission. Like,
right? Because I'm not Chinese, but if I were to write a book about society in China,
right.
yes, I could talk about the Great Wall of China. I could talk about their culture. I could talk about, the beautiful city of Shanghai and the skyscrapers and all that. The technology of the Three Gorges Dam, their cuisine and all that. But if I leave out,
Tiananmen Square.
Right. If I leave that out and I don't talk about how the Communist Party in
Mao
in China, you can't even use Google.
Right. Then
I'm not
what have I presented?
The whole story,
right.
And I'm not telling the truth of the government, and in essence, it's become political. For me not wanting to make it political, it's political. Right?
Right.
Because I'm purposely omitting a very large part of it.
Right. The ugly parts. Well, after that, you must feel very thirsty. I can only imagine, because I feel like anytime we go on a Fidel Castro, rant, there's nowhere to go but thirst.
I wonder what those people that got in my car last week who thought I was an Uber, I wonder where they ended up.
That would be great.
Oh, it would be great if I came across them again.
Well, you probably will, because if they go to a doctor in your building, you probably will.
That is true. That is very true.
You're eventually gonna run.
So yes, I am thirsty. Soda time.
All right.
You go first.
Me go first? All right. So I'm gonna give my last soda actually to it's a very random last soda. So a couple weeks back, I was at I have been having craving forever for sandwich. And so I placed the order online because I was like, I never have parking there. So I just placed it online so I could go and park and get it and go and whatever. So as I'm walking to the window to pick up my order, excuse me, I see that there's a guy standing outside. Maybe he was in his mid to late 20s. And on his calf, he has a tattoo. But the tattoo was basically El Escudo of Miami-Dade County.
Okay.
Like, the big that's behind like the school board meetings and all that stuff.
I like that. That's what you went with, like the school board meetings.
Well, that's where they always are. So whenever I get my order and I turn to the guy and I'm like, "Hey, I'm sorry. I noticed that you have, the shield of Miami-Dade County, on your leg and as a tattoo." I was like, can I ask, what prompted you to get that? And I'm one of those people who, like, for better or for worse, I always ask people, when I see a tattoo, if it's something different or, oh, what is that? Oh, what does it have a meaning? Why did you get it? How long have you had it? I always want to know the story of the tattoo. I feel many times people who have tattoos want to tell you the reason, right? Like, like when people see my Nightwing tattoo, they're like, what is that? And I go into the whole spiel and I tell them about the one on my back, whatever. This guy, without missing a beat, I was like, oh, what prompted you? And he just looked at me like I had asked him the dumbest question. And his answer was, well, because I was born in Miami. So like, I've been here my whole life.
Okay.
And I literally just was like, you know what? That's a great reason. And I just turned around and I left. So you know what? I'm giving my soda to the guy who felt I've lived here my whole life. I need to represent Miami. Let me get the freaking shield of Miami-Dade County on my calf. That's a very specific thing to get because most people would do like a 305.
Well, yes, but here's the thing.
So I give him credit.
That's not uncommon.
I had never seen it before.
Well, not necessarily in terms of Miami, but for example, people that are from Chicago, a very common tattoo from people that are from Chicago is the Chicagoan flag. That has 4 stars.
Okay.
Right? Can you name me what the stars are for?
The cities? No, the lakes.
The Chicago Fire, the World Columbian Exposition of 1893, the Century of Progress, is it, from the 1930s? And there's a 4th one. The fourth one, what does it mean? I'm not sure what the 4th one means. I forgot.
But I don't know.
But I know 3 out of the 4. But that's a very common. That's a very common.
I had never seen that before.
So I mean, it makes total sense. I mean, it's not as common here, but it makes total sense. So
I just thought it was great.
No, yeah, it's great.
I thought it was great that like I expected some type of story of like, you know, oh, because my father was in government, or I don't know. I expected something more than just like, because I'm from Miami and I've lived here my whole life and I got the tattoo. And I was like, you know what? That's great. That's just great. I love it. I love that was the answer.
It's funny.
Succinct.
When we had our last pop-up, which, by the way...
Yes. Great segue.
Pop-up tomorrow.
Yes, the 23rd at J. Wakefield. We're going to tell people 7 o'clock because even if we get there a little earlier, it's going to take us a while to get things going. So, you know, 6:30, 7 o'clock, guys.
Yeah. When the chicken is fried, it's fried.
It's fried.
And we have a new flavor, by the way.
We do.
We have what we're calling el santero.
Yeah, because it is a religious experience.
That's what we're calling our new winger sandwich, which is a sauce I created, and it's a traditional white Alabama barbecue sauce. So some of you may have had the white Alabama style barbecue sauce. Some of you may have not. People that have had this type of sauce before absolutely love it. So I'm trying to kind of like make my own little mark with it. It's sort of like a tangy sauce, but it goes great with fried chicken. And I have to tell you that I did some taste testings and some taste runs, and people were like mind blown. So
listen, if we made trivia happen, we can make the Alabama sauce happen.
You enjoy it. So, and that is tomorrow. So please join us.
Yes,
at our pop-up
J. Wakefield.
tomorrow. But yeah, actually, the reason I bring up J. Wakefield is because when we had our last pop-up there last month, I don't know if you saw me. There was a guy I went to and started talking to him because I noticed he had an XO tattoo. And XO is the weekend.
Oh, okay.
Abel's symbol is XO.
Okay.
Like in a certain font, obviously.
Yeah. Otherwise, it's Gossip Girl.
So,
right.
And I noticed it on his calf as well. And I'm like, hey, dude, are you a fan of Abel? Because, you know, fans of The Weeknd don't call him The Weeknd, call him Abel.
Okay.
And at first he didn't get it, which I was like, strike one.
So he's not a fan.
But he has a tattoo of him.
Right.
Pretty big, right? It took his whole calf.
Okay.
I noticed it. That's how,
right. From afar.
He was like where the dumpster is,
yeah.
And we were where we were, and I noticed it from there.
Okay, so it's a night, yeah,
right. So I went over to him, and I'm like, he didn't get it. I'm like, The Weeknd, and he's like, oh yeah, and I'm like, oh, are you going to the concert? Right, which is August 6th.
Still.
Oh no, man, I'm not going to the concert. Strike two, because like this is like one of the Weeknd's. This is like his first stadium tour,
big tour, yeah.
And if you have a tattoo on your body, I would think. And I'm like, oh, what do you think of the new album? Oh, I haven't heard it. Strike three. So I'm like, okay.
So what is this tattoo?
I asked him, I'm like, okay, but you have a huge tattoo of him. So are you a fan of his? Yeah, bro, because the Weeknd, when he first came out, he wasn't, I don't know if you know on how The Weeknd came out. The Weeknd, for about the first 2.5 years, nobody knew what he looked like. He released mixtapes.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he released mixtapes. Nobody knew what he looked about. Nobody knew anything about him. He just released mixtapes, and obviously that's how he gained popularity. And people started to know what he was look like because he would have live shows.
Start to perform,
at gigs and stuff like that. But in terms of like, he didn't do music videos. He didn't do interviews. He still doesn't do interviews.
Really?
Have you ever seen The Weeknd on a talk show?
I can't say I've been looking for it.
Right, but have you ever...
No, but again, I haven't really thought about it.
Like, you know, he gave a press conference when he did the Super Bowl and things like that, but he doesn't generally do interviews. But anyway, so a lot of people didn't know what he looked like. So he was like, oh, no, bro. He had 3 mixtapes that, whatever, long story short, he had 3 mixtapes that eventually they were combined together to make his first album called Trilogy. Okay. And he's like, no, bro, like his first mixtapes, I was really down with it. You know, I love the guy, and I did a tattoo. And I'm like, you got a tattoo of someone because you liked 2 songs on their mixtape? I mean, because a tattoo is a commitment.
Yes, it is.
Hence why I've never actually even gotten one, right? And I've been saying for about 50 years that I want one, right? And I'm like, I don't think you thought that out.
Right, exactly. You're probably somebody who doesn't make good choices.
Yeah, because, I mean, I love Abel, but I'm not going to put on a... Or maybe I would, but I really, really like him.
Right, but if you did,
I really like him, and I love his music, and I know everything about him.
Right.
But I'm not going to do that. Like, I don't know who's out now that only has a few songs. Like, ese como que alguien now.
I'm not gonna do it for Dua Lipa.
Well, not even Dua Lipa. Like, I'm tattooing my body with Olivia Rodrigo. Like, well, I'm not, but
right. But I hear what you're saying. Right, like after 2 songs, I'm in. Right.
Yes. So
right.
And especially like his mixtapes. Like, he wasn't even signed. Like,
well, but that's a true fan, maybe. If he liked more than 2 songs.
Right, but you don't know where that's going.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. Okay, yeah. Right. He didn't do it in retrospect.
Yeah.
He did it at the time of.
I don't know. I mean, well, actually, you know what I was about to say? Are there any Americans out there with Rita Ora tattoos? Because we tried to make Rita Ora happen.
No, I don't think anybody has a Rita. I don't even think Rita Ora has a Rita Ora tattoo.
Rita Ora, the greatest thing. Rita Ora is the definition of fetch. That is what fetch means. We just gave fetch a definition.
Fetch. Look it up. It's got a picture of Rita Ora.
Yeah. Porque mira that they tried to make that girl happen.
Oh, yeah, her publicist earned every coin.
Yeah, no, her publicist deserves to be like Canada. It's like
they should get one of the presidential medals of valor.
Because, I mean, y nada.
Nope.
Pero, A for trying.
She's the definition of A for effort.
A for effort.
But one of your last soda.
My last soda.
Because you've given we talked about all the tattoos in the world. Everybody's got a tattoo, and honestly, for a minute there, I was like, "Wait, is he giving the weekend tattoo guy the last soda?" Oh, I was a little confused.
No. So actually, no. My last soda is short and sweet. This is actually something that came out not this week, last week, but she's just good energy. And last week I gave my soda to the girl on the farm. Did you see 2 weeks ago Shirley Ralph's video that went viral?
Yes.
On Grammy nomination.
Okay, we love us some Shirley Ralph.
I'm giving her the last soda.
I'm so happy for her.
Shirley Ralph is one of these people that has been in about 5 billion things.
Yes.
And she's been around for what, like 40, 50 years?
Easily.
And I think she's underappreciated. She's underrated.
Not by us.
Not by us, but she's underappreciated because she's one of these people that, like, okay, so for those of you who don't know, you know where I know her from originally, right?
It's a Living.
It's a Living.
Yeah.
And then, of course, she was Moesha's mom.
Right.
And then she's done a lot of, like...
Well, she was in I believe, one of, if not the original production of Dreamgirls, but...
See, that's not where I know her from because that's
no. But she was one of the original cast.
She was Ginger on It's a Living.
Yes, she was.
Which was the first time I ever heard "Ease on down the road" because I didn't grow up watching The Wiz.
Right.
So, man, that was a great show. It's a Living.
I'm telling you, we should still work on our reboot.
So, a soda for her because she has an Emmy nomination and she had never been nominated for one.
No, and I love her.
She's just, again,
I love her.
Really good energy. If you don't know who Shirley Ralph is,
look it up.
That's part of the problem. You should.
Yeah.
Because she's been in a lot of things. Like, a lot of things.
I love her song In the Evening. Do you know that song?
No.
Okay, after we're done here, we're gonna play it. It's like a late disco's early 80s kind of song, but it's like oh my god, it's so good. It's like, in the evening, the real me comes alive.
Okay, there you
it's
go.
so good.
So good. So, a soda for her.
Damn right.
A soda for her and a soda for the Miami tattoo guy.
Yes.
But not a soda for the guy who got the...
not the weekend tattoo guy.
So anyway, well, everybody, we hope you listened, laughed, and learned. And as always, remember to grab your pastelito, your croqueta, and your cafecito. And thank you for joining us. That was episode 213.
Yes, it was.
And remember, join us tomorrow at Jay Wakefield in Wynwood.
Yes.
See you there.
All right, mi gente. Bye-bye. Pero Let Me Tell You is co-hosted by Darian Borges and Ismaeliano, produced by Ismaeliano, and our theme, Pero Let Me Tell You Freestyle, is composed by Michael Angelo Lamleplex, the official gay guy. And don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review on iTunes.